I was in Tricia's children's literature class. And I can remember every single class was just packed full of books. I can just remember her. She would pull up a book and give you the author, the illustrator. She'd give you a synopsis of what the book was about, how you could use it in your class. Somebody would ask her, oh, can you give me another book written by this author? And she'd be, oh, yeah, sure, sure. And she'd go across the room and pull one up. This is another book. This is by this author, and this is what it's about, and this is how you could tie it into science. And just a genius with children's literature.
So, of course, we thought of Tricia. Bring Tricia in. She can get anybody excited. Well, the in-service was at the end of the day. Teachers were tired. They weren't exactly happy about being there. And within 15 minutes, Tricia brought in her stack of children's books and started to make her points by reading from the books. A page or two here, a story here. And at the end of the hour, people didn't want to leave. They wanted us to buy the books right away. They wanted multiple copies, and they wanted Tricia back.
As I travel locally and nationally, encountering a lot of alums from Catholic schools mostly now, they often say, is Dr. Hart still there? You continue to inspire young people to be amazing teachers, and how you've encouraged so many honor students. Just saw Mary Kate yesterday do her presentation, and that's what I thought about, how much you encouraged her.
I have so many stories about Tricia, and she has been so pivotal in my career and so many things I've done in my life. But my most special story that I want to tell is when I was a GA working on my master's degree. I was working with Tricia, and my parents were coming to town to visit, and they were very sad that I was still living in Dayton and not coming back to Chicago. And Tricia instinctively knew how important it would be to get my mentors together and have a special dinner here on campus with my parents. And we still talk about it. My parents still say, why did she do that? And I always have to tell them, she's just a nice person. And she just knew that that mattered. And we had this great dinner over in the Kennedy Union where she invited Dr. Tillman, Dr. Kanukin-Welsh, Dr. Grogan, Susan Ferguson, herself, my parents, and they all got to sit and meet each other. And it's always given my parents such a warm feeling about where I am and what I'm doing.
And with all the graduate assistants who came into our life, and Tricia gets the credit for that, because I'm telling you, she's like a superb recruiter of people. She knows who to hire. And so she gets credit for Jackie. She says, well, you got to meet Jackie. Oh, okay. You got to meet Mary Kate. All right. She was never wrong.
I could fill the whole camera with all of my memories with Tricia when she came to my graduation party as an undergrad and in her classes and social studies and children's literature, but a vivid memory that I have that I can literally see myself in where I was standing. So my husband Greg and I were living in Virginia, and he had just found out that he had to move and was coming back to finish his PhD, but we had no idea where we were going. We didn't have jobs. I was going to have to leave this great teaching job that I loved in first grade in this great district in Virginia. And that night, Tricia called. How did she know? But she called that night to say, hey, Jim and I just got this grant, and we need a GA, and I have no idea where you are and what you're doing, but would you have any interest in coming back to the University of Dayton and being a GA and working for us again?
We were asked to pursue our clinical experiences. As Dr. Bowman understands, we had a big teacher education blue ribbon panel that said we need more of these, so we are doing this pilot.
Tricia had said to me, you know, Connie, I think you need to come to UD. And I thought, that's a good idea, but they have no openings. And so lo and behold, 3 months later, I get a letter from Trish and saying, Connie, we have an opening. Come on, apply for the position. And that's how I ended up here at UD.
When our grant project ended at Sinclair Community College, Tricia went into the doctoral program. And I was teaching in a local school district. And she would meet me for lunch periodically. And she just happened to bring a couple of brochures about the doctoral program. And it was no pressure. You know, she'd say, perhaps you might be interested in this at some point, but I just want to share this information with you. And it did, at some point I did become interested. I never thought I would pursue a doctorate. And Tricia invited me to go to Columbus with her for a day and just sit in on all of her classes. She introduced me to her professors, and that was when I really decided this is something I want to do.
I get emails from her at least once a week when she is capturing what one of her students has done in class and how she thinks that student might have potential for doing something professionally that really is exceptional. And not a lot of faculty members think like that. I mean, a lot of them are thinking about teaching their courses, about fulfilling certain responsibilities that they have of their own. I think the thing that always made Tricia very unique was you could tell that she was a very student-centered faculty member. She cared about the students, she cared what happened to them, and she cared about them realizing their potential.
For my research, I investigated teacher feedback on student writing. Now you may ask yourselves, why is this important? Why did I choose this? Well,
I remember as an advisor for so many years I'd read things about the honors program and I never gave it 2 seconds thought. It just didn't seem like it was that much of a deal until she became its director. And then it grew and became much more prominent, I think much more valued, and on to her tutoring of our undergraduate students in her honors class has made such a huge difference with those honors thesis students.
So I remember reading about her work early on and couldn't wait to meet her, you know? And so then when I got the chance to meet her, she's totally different than what I had thought. I thought she would be this kind of huger than life personality. And then she's this teeny tiny little package of a person, right? And it takes a while to get to know her, and then you go, oh my gosh, she really is this huge personality.
How many languages are spoken by English language learners in the U.S. schools?
She's really opened the door for me to tell my story about what it's like to be a parent of a child with a learning disability. And in that process, over years now, we've built this friendship that I have so much respect for her and have learned so much from her because of her spirit. And actually what I get to do then when I go into her classroom is preach about her a little bit, because I try to really talk about why UD is different in the way that we educate about love and the way we treat students. And she's taught me that over and over and over again as I've been in her classroom.
During the course of the conversation, Tricia looked at me very serious, and I knew her well enough to know when she's very serious something was going on. And I said, what's going on, Tricia? She said, what would you think if I applied for the department chair position? I said, Tricia, that'd be great. That's a great, I'm happy you want to do that. And she literally stood up, put her hands on the desk, looked at me, and said, are you serious? And I said, Tricia, yes, certainly you can do this. So when I reflected on this story, and I looked back over the years of what Tricia brought to that department, the beginning of the change of the teacher ed department, quite frankly, and through the series of people who followed her, they've become the outstanding department, teacher ed department in the area.
I always feel like I can stand taller if that's possible because I'm like 6'4" almost, but everyone knows Tricia. Whenever we have gone to lunch meetings or meetings across campus, students and other professors will say, hi, Dr. Hart, hi, Dr. Hart. And so you get the impression of her influence that she's had across schools, not just in the Department of Teacher Education, but throughout the UD community.
I think that the thing that I most admire about her is her uncanny ability to sort of marry the personal and the professional. And I have great memories of we would go to a meeting together and have all these, big conversations and important discussions. And then as soon as the door would close, she said, tell me about the kids. And it was just a great way to, I guess, marry those two parts of my life.
Ben was born in June, and my Katie was born in August. And Tricia, the kindness of her heart, she made tabbouleh with beans and blueberry muffins, and it was so sweet. Brought it over, visited, you know, we played with our babies, and, you know, it was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. And, you know, it's like Tricia, she thinks of everybody first.
Okay, I want to welcome you all coming this afternoon to help us and talk with us and share your knowledge. So thank you for coming.
I think it was the very first year that I was there full time. We had to go to a meeting somewhere on campus, and we were walking along, and I said something, you know, I've been thinking about, I'd love to make some video case studies of teachers. And she says, well, my husband's a videographer. And I can tell you that that was the birth of a great team.
Well, that's sort of the sad thing about retirement for the people that aren't retiring, is that they lose someone that they would you know, want to work with. And I know if Tricia weren't retiring, Colleen and myself and Tricia would find some project to work on together. And so it's good for her that she's retiring when she is, but for us it's a loss, because I know that we would do something, you know, really outstanding together.
What I want to say about Tricia is that a part of her life that people don't see, and that's her as a mother. She became a Montessori teacher, and I think that gave her a lot of insight into how to parent, and she taught me everything there was to know about parenting, and just made parenting such a joy.
Here's a tow truck for the broken ones.
Her passion in retirement is going to be doing a children's literature blog, and she has been reading hundreds of children's literature books, focusing now on what is of interest to our oldest grandson, Henry. But when she goes to St. Louis, he says, "Nana, read books?" And there's nothing that could mean anything more to her than to have that be her image as a grandmother.